Picture this. You're standing on a coastline, waves crashing endlessly, the ocean stretching out so far it feels infinite. That water isn't just scenery. It's mass, it's chemistry, it's energy waiting to be unlocked. And for decades, we've looked at the ocean as food, transport, mystery, but rarely as a direct fuel source. Today, that's changing. Because buried inside seawater is hydrogen, one of the cleanest, most powerful energy carriers known. And researchers around the world are racing to figure out how to pull it out efficiently, cheaply, and without wrecking the planet in the process. This is the story of green hydrogen from seawater. Not hype, not sci-fi. Real labs, real prototypes, real physics. And if it works at scale, it could rewrite the future of energy. Let's start with the basic problem hydrogen is trying to solve. Our modern world runs on energy-dense fuels: oil, gas, coal. They're compact, transportable, and powerful. But they also dump carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every time we use them. Renewable energy like solar and wind is clean, but it has a flaw. It's intermittent. The sun sets, the wind stops. Batteries help, but large-scale storage is expensive, resource-intensive, and still limited. Hydrogen is different. It's not an energy source, it's an energy carrier. You put energy in, store it as hydrogen, then release it later by burning it or running it through a fuel cell. When hydrogen is used, the main byproduct is water. No carbon, no soot, no greenhouse gases. That's why hydrogen has been called a clean fuel for decades. But here's the catch. Hydrogen doesn't just exist in tanks waiting for us. On Earth, it's almost always bound to other elements, especially oxygen. Water is H2O. To get hydrogen, you have to break that bond. And breaking that bond takes energy. Most hydrogen today is produced using fossil fuels. Steam methane reforming cracks natural gas to extract hydrogen and releases carbon dioxide in the process. That's called gray hydrogen. If you capture some of that carbon, it becomes blue hydrogen. Better, but still dependent on fossil fuels. Green hydrogen is different. Green hydrogen is made using electricity from renewable sources, solar, wind, hydro, to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. No fossil fuels, no carbon emissions, pure chemistry powered by clean electricity. Traditionally, this process uses fresh water. And that's where another problem appears. Fresh water is scarce. It's already under pressure from agriculture, industry, and climate change. Scaling hydrogen production using fresh water creates competition with human needs. That's not a future anyone wants. Now consider seawater. Oceans contain over 96% of Earth's water. They're effectively inexhaustible on human timescales. If you could use seawater directly to produce hydrogen, you'd remove one of the biggest bottlenecks in green hydrogen scalability. That idea sounds simple, but chemically, seawater is a nightmare. Seawater isn't just H2O. It's a complex chemical soup. Salt, mainly sodium chloride, but also magnesium, calcium, sulfate ions, organic matter, microorganisms, and trace metals. When you try to split seawater using electricity, you don't just get hydrogen and oxygen. You get side reactions. Dangerous ones. One of the biggest problems is chlorine. Chloride ions in seawater can be oxidized at the anode, producing chlorine gas instead of oxygen. Chlorine gas is toxic, corrosive, and destructive to equipment. It can ruin electrodes, contaminate hydrogen, and create serious safety hazards. On top of that, salts and minerals deposit on electrodes, fouling them, reducing efficiency, and shortening system lifetimes. Corrosion becomes a constant enemy. Systems that work beautifully with pure water fall apart when exposed to real seawater. For a long time, this made seawater hydrogen production impractical. The workaround was desalination. Take seawater, desalinate it, then electrolyze the fresh water. That works, but it adds cost, energy loss, and infrastructure complexity. It's like building a detour just to avoid a broken bridge. Researchers began asking a harder question. What if we don't avoid seawater's complexity? What if we engineer around it? This is where the real breakthroughs start. One major line of research focuses on selective catalysts. In electrolysis, catalysts are materials that speed up reactions without being consumed. Traditional oxygen-evolving catalysts don't discriminate much between oxygen evolution and chlorine evolution. In seawater, that's a disaster. So scientists started designing catalysts that strongly favor oxygen production while suppressing chlorine formation. That means tuning surface chemistry at the atomic level, changing crystal structures, doping materials with specific elements, engineering how electrons move across surfaces. Nickel-iron layered double hydroxides became a major candidate. These materials can be engineered to repel chloride ions or raise the energy barrier for chlorine evolution. By making oxygen evolution easier than chlorine evolution, researchers can tip the chemical balance. Another approach uses protective coatings. Imagine an electrode wrapped in a selectively permeable armor. Water molecules and hydroxide ions can pass through, but chloride ions are blocked or slowed. Thin oxide layers, polymer membranes, and ceramic coatings act like molecular bouncers, letting the right guests in and keeping the troublemakers out. Then there's pH engineering. By locally altering acidity near the electrode surface, researchers can suppress chlorine reactions. Some designs create microenvironments where oxygen evolution dominates, even if the bulk seawater remains salty and hostile. And that's just the electrochemistry side. Another breakthrough path involves photoelectrochemical systems. Instead of using electricity from solar panels to power electrolysis, these systems directly use sunlight to drive water splitting. Semiconductor materials absorb photons, generate charge carriers, and trigger chemical reactions at their surfaces. In theory, this could simplify the entire system. No grid connection, no external power electronics, just sunlight, seawater, and engineered materials producing hydrogen. But again, seawater complicates everything. Semiconductors corrode, surfaces foul, efficiency drops. So researchers began developing corrosion-resistant photoelectrodes. Materials like titanium dioxide, silicon protected by thin oxide layers, and novel perovskite structures are being tested. Some systems combine photovoltaics with electrolyzers and hybrid architectures, isolating sensitive components while still using seawater as the feedstock. Another fascinating direction uses membranes and flow cells. Instead of directly electrolyzing seawater in one chamber, these systems separate reactions spatially. Seawater enters one side. Purified or partially filtered water migrates through selective membranes, and hydrogen production happens in a controlled environment. Think of it like a chemical factory with internal borders. The ocean provides the raw material, but the reactions happen under carefully managed conditions. Then there's biological inspiration. Nature has been handling salty water chemistry for billions of years. Marine organisms move ions selectively, resist corrosion, and catalyze complex reactions at ambient conditions. Some researchers are exploring bio-inspired catalysts, or hybrid bioelectrochemical systems. Enzymes that process hydrogen already exist in nature. Hydrogenases are proteins that produce or consume hydrogen efficiently. The challenge is stability. Enzymes are fragile compared to industrial catalysts, but combining biological insights with synthetic materials could lead to new classes of catalysts that are both selective and robust. Now let's talk about why all this effort matters. Green hydrogen from seawater isn't just about replacing gasoline in cars. Its real power is systemic. Hydrogen can store excess renewable energy. When solar farms produce too much electricity at noon, instead of curtailing production, that energy can be converted into hydrogen. When demand spikes at night, the hydrogen can be converted back into electricity or used directly. Hydrogen can decarbonize industries that batteries can't easily touch. Steelmaking, cement production, long-haul shipping, aviation fuels. These sectors require high energy density and high temperatures. Hydrogen can deliver both. Hydrogen can act as a global energy commodity. Unlike electricity, which is hard to transmit over oceans, hydrogen can be liquefied, compressed, or converted into ammonia and shipped worldwide. That means sunny, windy coastal regions could become energy exporters. And seawater changes the scale. Coastal deserts with strong sunlight and access to the ocean suddenly become prime energy hubs. Energy production shifts from landlocked fossil reserves to open coastlines and renewable flows. But this future isn't guaranteed. The economics are brutal. Electrolysis is still expensive. Catalysts degrade. Infrastructure is missing. Transport and storage are non-trivial. Hydrogen leaks easily. It embrittles metals. Safety protocols are complex. And seawater systems add even more variables. That's why current research focuses not just on efficiency, but durability. Can an electrode survive thousands of hours in real seawater? Can a system operate without constant maintenance? Can it be scaled from lab cells to industrial reactors? Pilot projects are beginning to answer those questions. Small-scale demonstrators have shown direct seawater electrolysis running for hundreds of hours without catastrophic failure. Not perfect, not commercial yet, but no longer impossible. Some designs combine partial desalination with electrolysis, optimizing the trade-off between complexity and performance. Others aim for modular offshore platforms, producing hydrogen at sea and piping it ashore or converting it directly into transportable fuels. Imagine offshore wind turbines with hydrogen production units at their base. No transmission lines, no grid congestion. Wind energy converted directly into chemical fuel, stored and shipped like oil, but without the carbon. Now zoom out further. If green hydrogen from seawater scales, it changes geopolitics. Energy independence becomes tied to coastline and renewable potential, not oil fields. Countries with long coastlines and strong renewable resources gain leverage. Fossil fuel exporters face competition not from other countries, but from chemistry and sunlight. It also changes environmental trade-offs. Large-scale hydrogen production still affects ecosystems. Seawater intake, brine discharge, and offshore infrastructure must be managed carefully. But compared to fossil fuel extraction, the footprint is fundamentally different. No drilling, no spills, no carbon emissions baked into the chemistry. And perhaps most importantly, it changes how we think about energy. Instead of mining ancient sunlight locked underground, we tap into ongoing planetary flows. Sunlight hitting water, wind moving across oceans, chemistry cycling endlessly. This isn't a single invention, it's a convergence. Materials science, electrochemistry, renewable energy, systems engineering, policy, economics. That's why researchers are still at it. Every year brings new catalysts with lower overpotentials, new membranes with higher selectivity, new system designs that simplify complexity. There's no magic breakthrough moment, no single paper that solves everything. Progress comes in increments. A catalyst that lasts 20% longer, a membrane that blocks chloride ions just a little better, a system that's easier to manufacture. And then one day, those increments stack. Green hydrogen from seawater moves from experimental curiosity to industrial option, from pilot plants to gigawatt-scale facilities, from lab benches to coastlines. When that happens, the ocean becomes more than a backdrop to human civilization. It becomes part of our energy infrastructure. The same water that once powered ships with wind now powers civilization with chemistry. And the waves keep coming, whether we're ready or not. Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment to share your thoughts, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Your support helps this channel grow. Thank you for watching.